is
Hello,
great.
darling. How are you?
I'm really good. Totally bonkers in this crazy world that we live in now. Oh, so look, I just watched Little Room.
Yes,
and
I don't know why it's called Little Room. They've changed. I had a couple of interviews yesterday on Little Room. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about because they changed the title. It was originally called and I loved the title. It was called the Agoraphobic Society because they've all got agoraphobia. And Little Room doesn't mean anything to me, but there you go. But I'm sure it's still a good program.
It really is. Well, I really want to find out more because have you filmed any more episodes, or was it just the pilot?
No, I'm sort of locked into just doing that because I have to sort of, because I'm owned by HBO, and I did that, and I didn't realize it was a pilot. I thought it was. It's a lovely Scottish lady called Maggie Monteith, who lives in Georgia, funny enough, but she's lived in LA for a long time, and she put it all together. And I said, yes, of course I'll do it. But I had no idea it was a pilot for an ongoing series. So I'm getting my wife to pretend that she can talk for me as I'm too shy of camera.
Because all the agoraphobics, they've all got other issues as well. A couple of characters have, so that actually will work well. That's fine.
Well, I'm going to suggest that to Maggie and say, look, why don't you get Nicole and she can speak on my behalf? It might be quite funny.
That'll make
character off stage, just writing notes.
Exactly.
And tell her that.
So did you actually do that in your house? Was that where everybody did?
I don't know if I can do this. I'll show you. Let me just excuse the glasses, but I'm light sensitive, so I have to do this. Virtual background. Now,
I love virtual.
Where are we? None. So that's the real background.
That's real, right?
That's real. That's my cabin, and I'll show you. It's a bit of a state. That's the cabin, but that's what's outside.
Okay, lovely.
So my house, you can't see it. My house is through the trees down there. So I'm in a very, very sort of rural environment. Back to the Aurora, I think. Yes, that's better. So where have you gone now? You've gone somewhere. Okay. No, video. No. Oh God. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. You can see me all right though, can't you?
I can see you fine. So it should be.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, there you are. I've got you here. Got you there. Oh, there you are. Good, got you.
Isn't it brilliant?
Zoom.
I know. But how they were able, it's made people think in a really sort of different way creatively to try and, to try and do things.
Well, I think it's created an entirely new paradigm. And what's interesting is that I'll get notifications. I'm afraid I can't shove that off. I don't know how to do it anyway. But the thing is that nowadays, I saw a thing the other night. There was a play from New York, actually, but they were all, of course, in their apartments. And it's a group of plays called the Apple Plays. And they're a sort of chronicle of America from 9/11, all the kind of disastrous things, the financial collapse. And of course, they were now dealing with this. So they were all in their individual places. And it was put on by the Public Theatre. Now, the Public Theatre would probably get about 10,000 people in about 4 or 5 weeks to see it. But on that one showing, it had 45,000 people. So that is really what's interesting. There's a kind of paradigm shift about stuff that's live and that you can watch now. And I'll take my glasses off. No, it's good. I mean, it's really good. So I have to be here because I've got diabetes. So I'm high risk. So I'm not allowed. My wife stops me going anywhere, and I'm constantly having to wash my hands. I feel like I'm about 4. She said, "Remember to wash your hands."
That's good. I think that's good. She's taking care of you. But this with Little Room, it's for the TV and film relief fund because a lot of people are really suffering, and this is just your chance really to give something back.
Well, I'm happy to do that. I've just done the same for Scotland. I've just done a bit of rebus for the Scottish National Theatre because they're in a dire situation. I mean, I'm reading about theatres going into liquidation. The Leicester, the the theatre in Leicester has gone into liquidation, and it's really sad. And there's, Prince Charles has joined the National Theatre. There's all kinds of movements afoot. Sonia Friedman's making a big appeal, because theatre is, is one of our biggest industries. That's what people forget, I mean, they love the British theatre. And if anything happens to that, I mean, the VIC's been under threat, the RSC, they're all under threat. So we have to form some kind of bridging situation to get us through this very, very difficult time.
I know, because it's going to be one of the last things that we can go to, sadly. And it's such a shame. It really, I mean, you were over in the UK, weren't you, in February? You were working with your wife. Both of you
we were doing this play at a wonderful little place called the Playground, just by the BBC there, actually quite near the BBC. The old BBC broadcasting, the old television centre, and it was wonderful. We did the play, and it went very well. But of course, the thing had just started. But there was no lockdown, and we actually just got our run in and no more. And then the next day, Nicole came back to the States because of our boys, because their school was finishing. My mother-in-law was taking care of them. Mind you, they're big laddies. They should be taking care of themselves, but that's another story. Anyway, but she went back, and then 2 days later, I followed because I had a couple of things to do. So I've been here ever since then. So I've been here for nearly 10 weeks altogether. You've frozen. Are you there?
No, it's annoying. This is the only thing about this technology that actually freezes, which is annoying. But you're obviously working really, really hard. You've got so many projects on the go.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. In poetry, I've been doing some Shakespeare stuff. I've got a big tome that I've got to do for the, they have their thing called the Bloomsday, the James Joyce Society. So I'm doing something for them. And then we're doing a big appeal. I'm about to record a thing there's an app that's come out that's just being released actually as we speak, to help nurses who are at the front line, and they deal with emotional, physical, but also they deal with enormous mental problems. They're under siege constantly. So somebody's come up with a bright idea of designing an app for mental exercises for nurses, so that we're putting it online probably within the next week or so. And just to say that, this is something that nurses can do. It's a form of meditation, because, those are the people who are at the sharp end. I mean, those are the people who are really suffering more than anybody.
No, they really are. And I know particularly in the United States, it's been very, very bad there too, as it has been over here. And, it's that thing of, isn't it, Brian, who cares for the carers? So anything that
exactly,
we can do,
exactly. And they're the key people at the moment. Without them, we'd be completely lost. And so we have to take care of the carers. We have to see that their stress is reduced to the minimum, because it will never be, because it's so, it's such an ongoing crisis. It's impossible. And here, of course, it's very difficult, because some states are keen on social distancing, and then Americans are talking about their civil rights, and they want to stop all that. And I think it's really, we need herd immunity. That's the only way that we're going to get through this, is by us all being, working together and practicing the things which are difficult. When people say my civil rights, they forget civil rights apply to everybody. One man's civil rights is not necessarily another man's not civil rights. Civil rights has to be equal,
No,
but that's.
I know. We've got to protect the people right in the front line as well. That's what's so vital. And
absolutely.
we often, especially in the UK and America, we seem to be on the back foot, and we're sort of running to catch up. And there's a void, isn't there? There's a void of sort of global leadership. I mean, you look at people like New Zealand. You look at Jacinda; she's amazing.
She is incredible. And Our Lady up north is not doing too bad either.
Yeah.
She's doing a great job. The women should be running the show, Lorraine. Like you, the women should be running the show. I mean, the men they're archaic. They've finally reached their sell-by date, quite frankly, I think. We're seeing it very firmly.
Now, look, talking about women, I have to talk to you about Succession because, oh my goodness me, congratulations, of course, on your award. Very well deserved. What an amazing series that is. What an incredible series. It's Shakespearean, isn't it? It's Shakespeare.
Oh.
It's like King Lear. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's very much so. It's got, I mean, it's kind of grown, you know, the first series was great, but the second series was fantastic. And believe you me, if we get the third series made, and I know about the third series because they always keep it secret, but I was let in on it and I cannot tell anybody because I'd have to kill anybody I tell. But it's absolutely fantastic. If we can get it made, and who knows when that will happen.
Oh,
the writing is stunning.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. That's the thing. All the characters are absolutely awful, but they're so compelling. They're so compelling, and you want to find out what's going to happen next. It's just brilliant. Absolutely. It's on my ringtone, Brian. I've got it on when anybody phones me. That brilliant tune, that brilliant theme tune. Oh,
Nick Brittle's music. The score is fantastic. It's a fantastic score. It really is. And they've just published O to the G. What is it? I don't know if you saw the Dundee episode, but the son gives a rap to his father, and they've just put that on vinyl. They've just put that out now, you know, so you could get it as a big disc. He's amazing, amazingly talented.
That was a fantastic episode, and you know what was so good about that? Everybody said to me, "Oh, I didn't realise Dundee was like that."
I know. I mean, it's for our city. It's been great. You know, it's really been great, and they were very pleased to be filming at the V&A. You know, and they were very good at the V&A. They were great, but it was a complete surprise. All of that. You know, you've frozen again, but I'm going to carry on speaking. What happened was that my character was originally born in Quebec, Canada. And I originally, when it was pitched to me, I said, well, he could be Scots. And they said, oh, no, he's got to be American, or, you know, what? I said, oh, fine, okay. So I played it American. And then in the 9th episode, they changed it. In the 9th, oh, you're back. I'm just keeping going. The 9th episode, Peter Friedman, who plays the guy I'm always sacking, said, I've just done some ADR and then some post-syncing, and they've changed your birthplace. And I said, what do you mean they've changed my birthplace? After 9 episodes, they've changed my birthplace. He said, yeah. I said, when am I born? He said, oh, I can't remember. He said, hang on, he got his device. He said, oh, yeah, somewhere called Dundee, Scotland. I said, that's where I'm from. I mean, and then I asked Jesse, I said, what does this mean? He said, oh, we thought it'd be a little surprise. I said, it's a hell of a surprise. For 9 weeks, I've been playing it. So, so now it's so weird because Logan Roy has now become my evil twin.
Yes. Yes, yes. What a part. What a brilliant, amazing part to have. And I love it because you just both hands. And it's a joy to watch. The joy. It really is. I can't third episode. Of course, everything's on hold right now, so we just don't know. Is it there ready and waiting for all of this to be over?
For the first time, we've got the scripts, because normally the scripts, I mean, because they're really great writers, these guys and gals, you know, and it's a fairly split and fairly even group, and they've done so much good work. But they're doing it. They were always doing it constantly. They're always changing, right until the last minute till we recorded. But for this series, of course, because they've had a lot of time on their hands, they got the series ready, and we were only doing 8. I'm not sure what we're doing this time, how many episodes we're doing. But what happened was that they had it. And now they're still working on it. And I don't know if COVID's going to come into it at all. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, this is an interesting thing with all modern stuff. Are we going to refer this period that we've got now? You know, are we going to actually recognize it, or are we going to just say, well, that was that, and we've moved on? So it's an interesting sort of dilemma that we have.
It is. And how are you doing when you have got a spare minute? How is lockdown with the family? Because you've got teenage boys. Are they getting bored?
Yes, they are. They're difficult. They're not easy. I mean, I don't blame them, poor lads. I mean, it's tough for them. Very, very tough. But it's, you know, and we have to do this homeschooling. And I mean, it's bad enough schooling properly without going homeschooling, you know. I mean, I have to get my young lad to, you know, because he gets up, you know, he's always, the video, you know, the old, You know, he's doing all that till very late at night, and I'm going there and saying, bed now, get to bed. And he goes, just one more thing. I'm going, you know, it's crazy. So, and then in the morning when I wake him up, he gets up and he tunes in, but they should make Zoom compulsory. They don't. So the Zoom button he's pushes off. So he's there in his bed doing his class. And I said, don't get up, you know, respect, self-respect. Oh, it's tough. It's very tough. I didn't expect this. You see, a lot of the time I'm not here because I'm filming, I'm away. So fatherhood has been thrust upon me rather late in life. And I'm not very good at it.
I think you've got to, I'm sure you are, but we're just all trying to get through it as best we can, aren't we? That's the only thing we can do. It really isn't. And like you were saying earlier, things are going to change. And some amazing activities come out of it, like we've just been talking about the little room and the other things that you've been doing, and that things will change, and we have to be really careful, because it's going to be, I think the arts are more in, you know, whatever form it may be, more important than ever they were. We need it more than ever.
I couldn't agree with you more, Lorraine. I mean, the arts are vital now, and we're going to have to, you know, there's going to be a huge kind of, when we can get down to it, it's going to be an extraordinary time. I think it's an extraordinary time to come, because this is a period of, you know, the upside of this time is it's a period of an amazing reflection, where we can actually look at things and decide how valid they all are and what we've been up against. And I think now, especially as you say, with these kind of headless chicken governments that we've got, you know, both of the English-speaking world and elsewhere, you know, so it's really, really, really interesting how we can come out of this with some kind of sense of, you know, a future, you know.
I hope so. I'm hoping, you know, because a lot of people have said they've rediscovered a sense of community, you know, a sense of what's important. You know, we've been talking about people who do amazing work on the front line, and I hope we hold on to that. That would be a good thing. That would be something good coming out of this.
Well, I think exactly. We've got to look, you know, particularly in the UK, we've got to be really proud, and our National Health Service has got to be to the fore. All our spare coinage has to go towards that, because it's unique, and those people and work there are incredible people, and we really have to make sure that they get the credit and get the result of the downside of this, the positive result, that things increase in that area, you know.
I tell you what, if Logan Roy was around, he would be buying up all the PPE, selling it back to governments for like 4 times the price.
He would. He's a nihilist, you know. He's a. I mean, you know, the one thing we have in common, Logan and I, is I'm not a misanthrope. He's a misanthrope. I'm an optimist. But we're both a little disappointed with the human experiment.
Suffice to say, you know what I thought was really interesting, though, that they had to kind of teach you how to be a billionaire. You know, like not ducking when you go in a helicopter, because that's kind of like going in the car. You know, that thing. Not wearing a coat, because why would? Well,
I did not. You know, I sort of eschewed the not wearing a coat, because wearing a coat, I mean, and it's one of those myths. You know, people do wear coats. You know, sometimes they shouldn't. Like, you know, Trump wears a coat which is far too long for him. You know, it's practically down to his feet. I know. It looks as if he's got no legs. No, I mean, it's. I kind of got around that, and also I wore my cap. You know, my cap's very important. You know, the cap is very important. The Logan Roy cap. So he's got his own dress sense. You know, in fact, I have actually apparently in certain places I'm a fashion icon now.
Yes, you are. I was going to say you are a very, very stylish fella. There you are. It's a whole. No, it's true. There has been whole articles and programs devoted to the succession fashion itself, and of course Siobhan and all of the beautiful dresses, all of that. I mean, So
It's
sharp.
bizarre. It's bizarre the way it's taken off. It's just, at my age, it's the last thing I expected. I mean, I was, you know, I was slipping, I'm about to slip into the lean and slippered pantaloon of, I'm thinking, no, I'm not, I'm working.
You've never been busier, that's the thing. And then
That's
you always
true.
say, oh, I'm really, really busy. You just never stop. But I love that about you. I love that you're always curious and you're always wanting another challenge, and always challenge yourself. I mean, some of the roles you've taken on have been really, really tough. I actually, funnily enough, I was going, you know, about we're all tidying up, and I found your book. Remember you wrote that brilliant book about King Lear? And I think that was the first time years ago I interviewed you for that, and I was rereading it again, and it's absolutely fascinating. It really is, and it just made me think of Logan Roy and Succession and all of that, like we've said.
Yeah, well, I've been asked to do another one now. I've been asked to do a bit of a memoir about growing up in Dundee immediately post-war, and about my mom and my dad and all of that. And it's been quite a tough assignment, because going back over those old memories, which were, you know, really tough. You know, I mean, I had a very happy childhood until my dad died, really. And then my ma got terrible, you know, she had this terrible series of nervous breakdowns and had to have electric shock treatment and all that. So I'm sort of living that at the moment, which is, it's pretty tough going. Yeah.
That's really cool to put yourself through that, but it would be, for us to watch, absolutely fascinating, and actually really important, I think, to put that on record, to get it there so that we can all experience it.
And it also reminds us what is interesting is the fact that I, you know, because I'm now in my 70s, but one has lived through incredible periods. But the period of the 60s was really a wonderful period for somebody like me, who was a kid from Dundee, widowed mother. I had a grant, I had expenses paid by the Scottish government to go to a London drama school. I mean, really, it was fantastic. And, you know, and I was in London, it was the King's Road, it was all of that. And the 60s were quite amazing from the point of view of social mobility. It was unbeatable. And, you know, in a way, people always, you know, gets kind of stupidly nostalgic about periods, but that was a very blessed period. And I was one of the beneficiaries of that period.
Well, thank goodness you were. Thank goodness you were, so that we got all your work, which is brilliant. It's so good to talk to you.
It's really, lovely to talk to you, Lorraine, as always. As always.
I know you support the wrong team, but that's okay.
I don't support any team. I have to be bipartisan about my support of our teams up north. I mean, for a long time it was the one team, and then it became the other team, and then I became Brian Cox, so I had to be bipartisan. I can't say, oh, it's that team, then it's that team. That would be wrong.
That's very wise. I think
very wrong.
Exactly. But it's been great.
I'm sure
to talk
Jim
to
understands.
And I'm sure that when all of this, when we can travel again, when we're allowed to travel, we'll definitely need to meet up, and you must come and see me anytime. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I love the I'm going to do that. Thank you, Brian.
Bye bye, darling. Thank you.